He's off the board now.
Before we talk about a defensive guy here I want to remind everybody that you can get buckets on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. And right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 if your team wins. You can bet on all your favorite NBA players and teams with quick bets, live same-game parlays, exclusive props, and so much more. Just visit FanDuel.com/UCSS to shoot your shot. FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NBA. We talked on the offensive side of the ball. How about we talk about the defensive side of the ball? Earl, you mentioned potentially spending a lot of money on a defensive player, and one guy who has been linked to the Cleveland Browns now is Christian Wilkins, the defensive tackle out of Miami, who is unlikely to get the franchise tag. In an article on ESPN.com about the Dolphins deciding not to extend the franchise tag to Christian Wilkins, which, by the way, the deadline's tomorrow. That could always change, but at this point, it looks unlikely. Jeremy Fowler wrote, and I quote, "Houston is an intriguing option here. The Texans have ample cap space, a quarterback early on a rookie deal, and a playoff roster. But there would be several teams in the mix, though. The Browns, good for a splash or two, for instance. Would they strengthen an already stout defensive line with a versatile DT?" So, Earl, is Christian Wilkins someone you'd be interested in backing the Brinks truck up for?
So what I seen is, like, I'm a very emotional dude, and I'm triggered easily. And the last thing I need is for my emotions to be played with. And so when I seen Christian Wilkins and the Cleveland Browns in the same sentence, like, I was like, man, stop playing with me, man. Like, stop playing with me like that. Listen, I understand that he might make projected to somewhere around 23, 24 million a year if he hits the open market. And that's a pretty penny. But this is a dude who is coming off his rookie deal, first round pick out of Clemson, drafted in 2019, has been nothing short of dominant since he's been in the NFL. I think that if you're not going to do it on offense, whether it be interior defensive lineman or a pass rusher opposite of Myles Garrett, if you can go get a solid stud defensive lineman to complement everything that you have right now and make a unit that's already damn good, damn near unstoppable, then you go do so. Like, I think I'm at a point to where I'm tired of seeing the one-year deals handed out to the veterans at the defensive tackle position, the one-year deals handed out to the defensive ends. Like, pick one of those two positions, go get you a young stud that's going to hit the market, that's coming off their rookie deal, and solidify either that defensive tackle or that opposite edge rusher to Myles Garrett for the next 4 or 5 seasons.
But here's my problem with that. It's the allocation of resources. You only have so many chips. Mm-hmm. And if you put all your chips in this basket, that gives you fewer chips in the basket that we said is most needed this year, wide receiver. I looked at San Francisco and Philadelphia, made moves in the last 10 months that made me at the time say, oh, it's now like New York Yankees $30 million contracts unfair. When the Eagles drafted how they drafted and got the best available, I said, oh, it's a wrap. They've got the best defensive line maybe ever. And then when the Niners went out and made the trade for Chase Young, I'm like, it's over. It's over. Neither of those teams won a Super Bowl. And they had a plethora of talent at that position. What did the Chiefs have? They had Myles Garrett. They had one monster.
Chris Jones.
Yeah.
You said Myles Garrett.
Yeah.
No, I'm saying he's their version of Myles Garrett.
Sorry,
okay? So Jones is to the Chiefs what Myles is to the Browns.
That dude with a bunch of dudes around him.
Exactly. And so I thought at the time, oh my God, the Eagles are playing chess here. They're just going to make it impossible for opposing quarterbacks to have any success against them at all because they've got waves of talent. And it's deep and it's all over. Mm-hmm. And then when the Niners got Chase Young, I said the same thing. I'm like, Patrick Mahomes doesn't stand a chance. I know that Patrick Mahomes is the centerpiece of the NFL. But the Eagles made moves that were supposed to trump that, and it didn't. So that tells me that although defensive end or guys that get after the quarterback it's now become the second most important position in the NFL. But if we have to wonder about will it ever become number one, I think that last year's season was evidence that it won't. A great quarterback is still going to trump an unbelievably deep defensive line. So with that being said, we have the Chris Jones. We have the equivalent with the Browns. You put some nice pieces around him, and that should be enough. What you have to do is you have to have the elite quarterback. And how do you make really good quarterbacks better? Give them really good wide receivers. And so I think if you allocate too many receivers to the defensive line position and adding Christian, because look, this move would be exactly what the Niners and the Eagles did in the last 12 months. Exactly. Oh my God, they're doubling down on that position. I think that the answer is in the question. You can't overlook the importance of the offense in this deal. And the Eagles and Niners made bets, and their bets were on defense, and they didn't get the trophy. So look, would I love them? Absolutely. But not at the expense of getting a Christian Wilkins equivalent at wide receiver.
Oh, they have to have that.
But I don't know how you get both.
They have to.
I think it's going to have to come down to one or the other.
Is Wilkins a guy you'd be able to be willing to back the Brinks truck up for, essentially?
Well, see, Jay just really, in the cliff notes of what he said, he basically said, the only way you win is Operation Stockpile. You got to have defense and offense, not one or the other. Yeah, I'll give Christian Wilkins that check, but here's 3 more people that need to get restructured.
Right.
Come on in.
And those are rumored to be coming.
Right. Come on here.
I had an idea.
Restructuring.
The Chubb,
and Watson has to happen.
He's restructuring every year.
That could free up enough
I ain't seen you in
money.
a week. I told him I would give Myles Garrett a brand new contract right now. I think he's earned it. Hear me out, right?
Ooh.
I think his cap hit, according to Over the Cap, Mike, check this out. I think it's like $20 million.
Earl, I know for a fact that's correct, and not only do I agree with you, I think it's the most obvious move the Browns make this offseason.
Yeah, he's coming off winning.
More so than restructuring Deshaun Watson's contract.
Absolutely.
All of them is coming in there.
Because
Deshaun Watson's is
he just won Defensive Player of the Year. You're going to have to give him a new deal, Jay, within the next season or 2 anyway. And I think this is the perfect time to do it.
How much time does he have left on his current deal?
I believe this year, then 2 more.
Okay, so what's the urgency?
Because we want.
I don't know what he's going to look like.
That $20 million this year, it won't be that. You give him a brand new contract, that $20 million, all of a sudden, that's not
But
that.
here's what we
it's
don't
probably
know.
$1 million.
Here's what we don't know. What is he going to look like in 4 years? We've got him for 3 years. Hell, I got to make sure that and I think Myles Garrett might even tell you this. Get me some pieces to win. I want to win.
How we get his pieces is we need to give him a new contract and kick that can down the road. Basically, what they're going to do is give him a new deal and give him a bunch of upfront money right now.
Correct.
Then we take that money that we would have had allocated to the cap. Now all of a sudden it's looking like we got $15 million off that, and we go to Amari Cooper. Hey, Amari, we love you so much. We're gonna kick your can down the road. Amari Cooper might be on this team 34 years old. Might be a shell of himself.
Can't you, in restructuring Watson, look at the freedom that's going to give you? It's going to give you more than if you do.
So, Jay, you were here last week when Jason Lloyd talked about. He asked Andrew Berry directly at the Combine, and you go back. This is from Thursday, or I think it was Thursday's show when Jason said this. He asked Andrew Berry directly, "Is restructuring Watson an offseason priority for you?" He said, "Not necessarily." So Jason wrote a whole article on it. Now I think it'll still happen, but the reason you may not restructure Watson's contract is if you're not convinced Deshaun will get back to Deshaun by just keep kicking it makes it harder to get out of the
understand
deal,
that.
Which is why I think Myles, who right now just won Defensive Player of the Year, is no longer the highest paid edge rusher. He's closer to 5 than he is to 1 at this point. You could give him an extension, give it all in bonuses, and make that cap hit go from 20 to about $8 million, open up $12 more million in free agency, which, by the way, I think happens, and I think Deshaun happens too. I still think Deshaun happens.
Of the two, I just think Deshaun's a bigger priority. It would be
you
for
could
me.
open up about $30 million in cap space by restructuring Deshaun.
I know. That's massive.
And I believe, to me, that's why I keep saying it. It's not a knock against Deshaun Watson. I'm not knocking his skill set or saying that he can't get back to where he is. But what you want to do is you want to give him and the Browns the best opportunity. You just want a puncher's chance. That's all you want. You want a puncher's chance going into a game where you may be playing Joe Burrow. And you know what you need with that? I feel good saying I got the best defensive line in the game. I got Amari Cooper, who's my number 2 receiver. I got a speed receiver that can get deep, and I got Nick Chubb and another back that's ready to go, and I got another number one receiver. I believe the Browns have to come out of this with 2 receivers. Either way, you either get a free agent, you trade for one, or you draft. Some combination, but I think you got to go into this thing saying, I need a receiver that's better than Amari Cooper, because now I slide him to the 2, and now this thing looks completely different.
That's going to be the hardest part of it.
That's
going to be the hardest part of it. I do understand the thinking of it, though, because I thought about it, too. Like, you could go get somebody that you might have graded up here, but then you could go get somebody that you might have graded 2 or 3 steps down, but you might view better than Tillman and
Yes.
Bale, right? So I think that Andrew Berry will work his magic. It'll be interesting to see how it all plays out. If you restructure Deshaun Watson, cool, but I'm more focused on Myles Garrett got a $20 million cap hit. And I hear, Jay, I don't know where he'll be, 4 or 5 seasons from now, but nothing inside of me tells me that he's going to slow down. I'm restructuring that deal right now.
Well, no,
I'm going to make his base
he
$1
will
million.
slow down. We just don't know when.
I'm just saying I'm going to make his base $1 million like it used to be.
Right.
And then that's more money I got to go out here and get more weapons on both sides of the ball. So, for example, if the Browns were able to go trade for a stud wide receiver and then they signed a guy like a Darnell Mooney, okay, the Darnell Mooney signing don't look as bad because you wouldn't trade it for you wouldn't trade it for a stud. Or like, if you could get a Christian Wilkinson, right? And you sign him and then you somehow was able to keep Mo Hurst. Or you keep Mo Hurst and you find somebody else that's not on the same level as Christian Wilkins,
right?
But somebody else that's still like a top tier interior rusher, then that's cool too. It's more than one way to skin a cat, and I trust Andrew Berry to go out here and do what he always do: be aggressive and make stuff happen.
Let me point out 2 ties that Wilkins has to the Browns real quick. A, he was college teammates with Deshaun Watson at Clemson, and B, his agent David Mulugheta also represents Deshaun Watson, which may be why the 2 were tied in the ESPN article. G, when you look at Wilkins and what he's done, he is one of, if not, he's not the best defensive tackle in football. It's not even close. But he is in that conversation outside of the Chris Jones top tier category, and that tier 2 guys. Mm-hmm. How dominant, theoretically speaking, if he were to come to Cleveland, could the Browns' defensive line look like with edge rusher, whoever they end up going out and get this offseason, whether it's Zadarius, and then Wilkins, Tomlinson, and Miles as your other 3?
So I've been thinking about it a little bit because I've been really getting my wrapping my head around the Brian Burns pick. Y'all let me know in the chat, man. Let me know in the chat how you feel about the Browns upgrading that defensive line and making it Hall of Fame status. And what I mean by that is, say for instance, you can't get what you want necessarily at receiver.
And it's starting to look more and more likely that you're not.
How do you feel about saying, well, look, the best part of our team was our defense. We're going to just have to go all in and make the defense great. Like, when you look at it, you say, all right, can I get a unit that says it's bar none the best in the league up front? And we got a second year under Jim Schwartz. And we go and say, well, let me get another linebacker. You think about JOK coming back. Emerson's in his 3rd year. You look like you got a bunch of depth at safety. You got the Defensive Player of the Year coming back, Dalvin Tomlinson. And they make their mind up and say, look, we got Njoku and Cooper. We're going to do what we can in the draft because that person, maybe we got some draft stock. I would almost rather him do this, Jay.
A draft, though.
But here, if they told me we're going to package that too, and we're going to package that, and we're going to go up and get a bona fide, not the 2nd round receiver. I'm talking about first, one of the top 3 guys on the board.
See, here's what worries me about that. Let's say you've got a friend who wants to go into business.
Yep.
And his first 3 businesses fail. Are you going to invest in him when he comes to you for the 4th business? Because I'm not. Track record has to come into play here.
It does.
And I had an NFL exec say, and this is almost a verbatim quote, whatever the Browns are doing in their analysis of wide receiver talent, it needs to change. They need to reevaluate it because it's not currently working.
So let me say this.
So I don't know that I want them to go try it again the same way.
If that friend had great ideas but a lack of funding, say for instance he had a really great idea, but the engineers was like, listen, it's just to put a broken prototype together for that. that's going to cost you $1 million.
I don't know. His track record's going to blind me by everything else. I love you, bro, but you're 0 for 3 right now. I'm probably going to go invest with someone who's 1 for 3, 2 for 3, or 3 for 3.
But what if he had the funding and you like, listen?
Well, then he doesn't need my money. Good luck.
Yeah,
I'm rooting for you.
Like, but what if he only so watch this. What if he only just wanted to use your likeness? You stand next to the project. You ain't got to put the money in.
Because the only thing that we have that we can't sell is our, that's
stand next to it.
You work a lifetime to develop your
facts, right?
Your NIL, so to speak. So you're not going to willy-nilly give that away. It might work, it might not. Right. It also might cause cancer. Now your face is affiliated with a product that causes cancer. Here's what I'm saying. The long way around is I don't trust this organization when it comes to going to the combine, putting grades on talent, and then drafting that position.
You played a dangerous game because you're counting on that kid to come into camp, pick up the offense, build a rapport to Deshaun Watson, not get hurt. And then hit the track running against the Ravens and the Bengals right now.
Yeah, it doesn't. It doesn't happen typically unless you're Puka Nacua in the 5th round. Now, the funny thing is, when it comes to the Browns, if you took Amari Cooper off the roster, I know, right? And David Njoku off the roster, what would our pass catching room look like?
If you just take
dog poop.
And by the way,
if you just take one,
everybody that's left has been brought in by this regime. Now, they brought in Amari Cooper, but not via the draft.
Trade.
They fleeced the Cowboys. Go fleece someone else.
That's basically what I'm
getting
getting to.
Go find the next Amari Cooper.
Go find a sucker and fleece him.
And fleece them that way. But don't draft someone because you've proven to us you can't.
It's too much. It's too much of a risk at this point. Where we are at the juncture of this organization, I'm just letting people know, man. Look, in a couple years they may have to tear it down. But I just want to just remember, everybody in the chat understand this. Think about how you felt when you used to turn the Browns television on prior to 2017 and you used to turn the game on and watch the Browns knowing you had no chance of winning for 2 whole years. That's worse than death to me. Like listen, I rail on the Browns a lot, but it can't get no worse than it was back then. And me knowing that there's a chance that because we are in financial areas where we're kicking the can down the road, and that could be a thing coming back up for a rebuild, I gotta do whatever it takes to keep my window open, bro. I ain't got enough time to worry about that.
I'll push back on that a little bit. I don't think that this is gonna ever be. Not gonna say ever. Let me choose my words better. I think Andrew Berry is doing a good job to where the Browns can reset and retool. Right. I think they have a vision of making this a consistent contender, a consistent playoff team with the hopes of it's our year and everything fall in line that we can make it to the Super Bowl and win one.
But they have to draft better.
True. I just don't think that the Browns are closer to going back to what we were prior to 2017 than what we are right now.
But what's worse?
You might have to.
What's worse?
That there's the thing. Do
right.
You want to be middling?
I don't want to be middling.
I want to go get a Super Bowl.
16.
Right. I want to go get a Super Bowl. And so
I do too.
I just feel like the general manager, for the most part, has done a good job to make sure that this team can compete at the highest level.
He has.
They need to do better at evaluating the wide receiver position, and it'll be interesting to see how this offseason go. I know that the fans, the chat. Wait, hold on. The fans, the chat, everybody might rip me for this, right?
Who cares?
But there's a dude, and this is intuition. There's a dude on this roster who did not play at all last year that I really believe.
I know where you're going.
That he has a rapport with. Matter of fact, he was with Deshaun Watson when he actually got hurt. And so Andrew Berry might feel like, I got a secret weapon that people might not know about. You still need to go get another wide receiver. Something about Michael Woods makes me curious.
I wish we
don't know why, but this dude makes me curious.
Yeah. I wish we could have seen more.
Yeah, he should be back from it was Achilles injury, right? If I remember correctly. Yeah, should be back from the Achilles in
and they're probably banking on that. And they're banking that he'll give something to the cause. But at this point,
I
like your Operation Stockpile. I think that's the way you do it is, but you've got to be big and strong at every position. And even though we've got an Amari Cooper and a David Njoku in today's game, that's not enough.
That ain't enough.
And that line that was overused last year that gave all of us PTSD.
We like our room.
We like our room.
We like our
no,
room.
we don't.
That's cap.
You may like your
That's
room.
cap. That's what that is.
The fans and the NFL didn't like the room.
Yeah, that's cap.
So you've got to improve that position.
If nothing else, to Earl's point with Michael Woods, it just adds another level of competition for guys like David Bell, Cedric Tillman, guys in the end of the wide receiver core to make a name for themselves. If you don't want to watch UCSS, if you can't watch